Here's a little bit of background information on the library that I observed. It is one branch out of 16 out of an entire county-wide library system. And this in particular branch had recently underwent a huge renovation where they made big additions to the library. So the reference center actually was moved to the upper floor, and it's had some ups and downs on the effects of having it there. So this reference center, it's staffed by 5 full-time librarians and 1 part-time, and that includes the head of reference himself. So what they usually do to help fill in and cover any blanks is they'll use clerks from the main floor, come up and have them man the desk. So there's been ups and downs with this remodel. In particular, they like being out of the general stacks because you cut down on people looking to check out books and some of the other silly questions that people may ask. But unfortunately, now that they're upstairs, fewer people know that they're there, and it's also harder for them to find. The concept of a triage desk was put into place when they did the remodel, and the idea was this person, the clerk sitting there, could then direct patrons upstairs or to the other sections of the library where they were needed. Unfortunately, it didn't work out as it was planned. A lot of times the clerks will attempt to answer the reference questions that a patron comes to them, and so it's mixed results. It's not exactly the best system as of yet, but the head of reference is hoping that the kinks will eventually work themselves out. There's a lot of staff development that's ongoing, and in particular the head of reference invites his staff on these, he calls them field trips, and he goes and he visits different research centers where they will refer their patrons to. In particular, he told me about how 2 years ago they went to Fort Wayne, Indiana to visit a genealogy center there that they a lot of times send their patrons to, and they call this genealogy center to help answer reference questions. Some of the things that I observed, obviously I observed some of the various reference functions, the ready reference questions and the reference interviews and things like that. But in particular, I saw, the times that I was there, I saw a lot of the older population in the center. And it seemed like they were doing a lot of genealogy research. My findings in the actual statistics of the reference center are a little bit different, however. Head of reference says that they actually get a large number of college students in using it during the day, which makes sense. This library in particular is very close to a lot of different colleges. There's a community college right down the road. It's also in commuting distance of University of Toledo, Eastern Michigan University, Wayne State University, several of the colleges in Detroit, and it's also in commuting distance of Ann Arbor, so there you have University of Michigan as well. There's also a lot of research done on the local history and on the War of 1812, and this is partly due because there was a recent declaring of a national battlefield in town, so they have a large collection of War of 1812 material. Some of the things that I was surprised about was that there was no virtual chat reference at all. Head of reference said that they had tried this about a year ago and they got no response from the patrons. So they ended up dropping the service entirely because it just wasn't in the budget if no one was going to use it. He did say that they were willing to try it again if there ever became a need for it. I was also surprised at the number of technology questions that they would get that just seemed out of the scope of reference. In particular, one gentleman came in with his laptop and he was wanting them to help him set up so he could connect to his dial-up network at home, and this just seemed very much out of the scope of what they should be doing. It was a little too technical from what I was expecting. To conclude, I really enjoyed being able to observe and see the things that we've been learning about take place in the actual reference center, and be able to put, the terminology in with the actual things that how they actually run the reference center. So it was very educational in that aspect. So I think I really took a lot out of this assignment.